Esteemed guests, I'm glad to meet you all again on the occasion of this online forum dedicated to global transformation. I congratulate you for organizing this event at this particular moment when the aggressive rhythm of the pandemic seems to have slowed down, and we must think of the future because as our friend Professor Poli from Trento University stated, the anticipation of the future needs to be a part of the present decisions. The most striking conclusion of the economic events of the pandemic bearing social implication was a discrepancy between the impoverishment of the population at the same time as the increase in wealth of the world's billionaires. The list compiled by Forbes magazine on April 17, 2021 comprises 2,755 billionaires with 493 new billionaires this year only, one every 17 hours on average. According to Oxfam report, the inequality virus of January 21st, 2021, the combined wealth of the 10 richest people in the world, increasing during the pandemic by $540 billion. It only took 9 months for the wealth of the first 1,000 billionaires to come back to their maximum from before the pandemic, while for the poorest part of the world, the recovery might take longer than a decade. I would also like to mention the recent reaction of the leaders of the main 7 economic powers of the world, who upon their meeting of the Cornell Summit of June 11th, 30th, decided to support the proposal made by President Joe Biden on an agreement on the establishment of the global tax of the least 15th for multinational corporations to counter their resort to fiscal paradises with extremely low taxation levels or exception from taxation. Almost a decade ago, I received from Graeme Maxton the book titled The End of Progress: How Modern Economics Has Failed Us. The question that Graeme Maxton attempts to answer is how can we offer compassion, kindness, equal access to opportunities to a large number of the people, at the same time as protecting the world for the future generation. The question that Maxton raises as a representative of the Western world holds a special moral significance to me. In the first decades after the fall of communist dictatorship of Eastern Europe, which were fundamented on a state-managed economy, I fought for 6 years as a civic leader and for 4 years as a head of state for a radical change to a democratic state, the rule of law, and a free market economy. Today, after 30 years, I am profoundly disappointed. As I discussed with Francis Fukuyama in 1998 in Harvard and in 2014 in Gdansk, the last decade of the past century was not the end of history. And the first decades of the 21st century are disappointing not just for me, but I think that they would have also been disappointing for the first Democrat president of the Eastern and Central European countries, should they have been among us. Modern economy deformed the ideas of classical economists who had in mind a moral fundament for a healthy economic development that would lead to the creation of a robust middle class, able to support a stable democratic society. If one cannot expect of today's billionaires to fight for changing the very system that created their wealth, often based on financial speculations, governments need to revise their duties. This means that ideas of governance and democracy must be reconsidered. We need a global leadership that can stand up to the exaggerated influence of global companies. The market economy needs to become accountable to a society itself. This translates in the form of laws and regulations that can govern the market and provide free access to its resources from the society at large, refraining from restrictive practices, which would have a negative impact as far as producers are concerned. We must preserve equity to preserve economy and the economic environment per se. In the end, it all comes down to examining the essence of the role of life, which should not be focused entirely on consumerism, money, and growth. There are other social, cultural, intellectual, and spiritual preoccupations that can satisfy our interest without draining the planet's resources. The economic model of the future must not be a prisoner of consumerism and economic growth for the sake of growth. Economy must not be entirely abandoned to the free market, but rather still to satisfy the needs of the society in its entirety. Such a perspective, moving from the needs of the individual towards the greater good of society, will help ensure sustainability, equality, justice, and correctness. The end goal is to have society run by people and not by the market. Thank you.